Hey everybody, my name is Erin from Juniper and Oaks. I'm a crochet pattern designer and I'm just a lover of all things yarn. I tend to call myself the crazy yarn lady. I'm so glad that you're here and I can't wait to talk to you about Mosaic crochet. Now, if you are new to Mosaic crochet, you might be wondering, what are you talking about? I am interested in this term, Mosaic crochet. Let me tell you a little bit about it by first showing you what it looks like. I have this blanket, and I have, maybe you've seen this one around the internet, this blanket. This is the Mosaic Nordic Crochet Along, and I ran this on my website last year in 2022. This was a collaborative CAL. So I designed this along with other crochet pattern designers, some of them who are in this event right now. And this is the front. It's really beautiful, right? It looks like really intricate color work. Wrong. It's just like one of the easiest color work pieces you could ever make. Very similar just to doing rows by rows, because listen, each row is actually its own different color. You're not doing any intricate like changing of colors and carrying your ends and weaving in your ends and all sorts of things like that. No, it is very easy. Let's look at the back side. You see, notice how the back side is basically just stripes? That's because each row in overlay mosaic crochet is done in a different color. You alternate. Here I've alternated red, white, red, white, red, white. And the way the stitches are worked, you kind of drop down these double crochet stitches and you hide the color that you don't want shown. And that's how you get this intricate looking color work. At the end of each row, you snip off the ends, like let's see here. This is another example for my monthly Mosaic Mystery Cal. You get all of these ends because you start at one end. Say I start over here and I crochet and I snip off the end, okay? Then I start back over here, and I crochet, and then I snip off the end. You see the back side is stripes, and the front side you get this beautiful color work. Now you can see the design here on the back, but mostly it's just a one-sided design. But you can create things like blankets, pillows. Somewhere I have a basket pattern. You can use this design for all sorts of patterns. I'll get into this a little bit, but you notice how there's all these ends and I said you won't have to weave in your ends. Well, here's the dealio. We create what's called an envelope border. And so what I've done here for my border is I've created a back border and a front border, two borders, and I've just enclosed it together. That's called an envelope border. Okay, I've given you so much information right here just in the introduction, so let me just hold my horses a little bit. I'm going to walk you through this step by step and show you all the stitches that you'll need to know in order to do overlay mosaic crochet. Then at the end, if you want to get more ambitious, we'll talk about creating your own charts a little bit. Before I get much further, let me tell you, there are different types of mosaic crochet. There is overlay mosaic crochet, and that's what I'm going to be talking about right now, where you start at one end, you go to the other side, you fasten off, you start at the first end, you know, it's like one-way crochet. There's another crochet type that's called inset crochet, which you only use one color at a time too, but instead of fastening off, you work back the other way. I've never tried that. I don't know anything about that. I know that there's also people who can do Tunisian mosaic crochet. Here I'm going to be strictly talking about overlay mosaic crochet. So I've shown you some of my work, like this Peaks and Pillars pillow over here and the Mosaic Nordic Cal. Let's look at some other examples of mosaic crochet just so you can get some inspiration and kind of be like, oh, so that's mosaic crochet. These designers and these patterns are ones that have inspired me in my own creations. Like when I was first designing my first mosaic crochet pattern, and really I learned how to design before I learned how to crochet it. So that's just a little backwards. If you want to know the story, you can definitely ask me. But Tina with this queen cow, she was a big inspiration to me. And then Daisy Knots with this mosaic sampler, that was another one that really helped me learn how to crochet, overlay mosaic crochet. So I wanted to definitely point those ones out first because those were big ones when I was first learning how to do this technique. Beba Blanket, her mosaic patterns are gorgeous. Here's this, that one is in the round. I'm learning how to do that kind of technique right now. But Baby Blankets with her pattern mosaics, she has so many others to choose from as well. That's a good place to start. And then Abby McIntyre with this I don't know how to pronounce it, Sholach blanket. I've seen that all over the internet and I really want to make that when I have the time. I also wanted to point out a couple other designers like MJ's Off the Hook. She's taken the mosaic pattern. She does have blankets, but she's also turned them into hats and mittens. So that's really fun. And then Sixel Designs, her stuff is amazing. So I'm going to teach you the basics, but Sixel Designs is someone to go to when you want to crochet up a pattern that has that's more than just the basics. Her patterns are more advanced, where she has diagonals and kind of makes the ghosts really curvy and whatnot. Where you see the other ones are more geometric. She creates these beautiful images that are just I aspire to be more like that. Here, I did get one of her patterns to learn how to do this, but it is more advanced than the basics that I'm going to show you next. Okay, so let's learn those basics. Overlay mosaic crochet patterns are worked from right to left. If you are left-handed, you can work left to right usually. And then, as I mentioned before, every row is worked in a different color. So you have all these ends because you're going to fasten off at the end of each row. So every row begins with a border stitch, and then every row ends with a border stitch. And these are single crochet stitches that are through both loops. But other than those beginning and ending border stitches, you have two, hear me, two other stitches. And it's a single crochet worked in the back loop only, which is the one that's furthest away from you when you crochet. So single crochets are just worked in that back loop of the previous row, and then all double crochet stitches are worked in the front loop 2 rows before. All of those double crochets are worked in the same color as before, and that'll make sense here in just a second. So really those are just the basics, and that's what I tell everybody. That's what you need to know. You just have one color per row. You need to know how to do single crochet and double crochet, and then don't weave in the ends because we're going to work an envelope border in at the end. Because of the way that these stitches are, it's really easy to work from a chart. Okay, there's written instructions, but really how I design and how I crochet is worked off a chart. I know a lot of designers are like that as well. So here's an example of a chart. This is my mosaic squares pattern, and when you work up that chart, you end up looking like this. You'll see on the right side of the chart, you have numbers that start at the bottom from 1 all the way up to 14 here, and then you have alternating colors, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A. So that's what colors you're going to use, okay? So if it's a B, you know you're going to use color B in that round only, and if it's an A, you're only going to use color A in that round. Even though in the chart you have colors that are mixed, it's whatever colors are on either side, that's what you're going to use. Now, anytime a box is blank, whether it's, a blank white or blank black, it's just a back loop only single crochet. And if there's an X in it, whether if it's black or white, you are going to use a double crochet in the front loop only. And then you start and end with your border stitches. So really, really easy, super duper. Anything within the red box, and that's what you repeat over and over again. So that's how you can get something big like this, or make it into a big blanket or a coaster. Whatever size is, you just follow that repeat. So I'm going to flip the camera and I'm going to show you a quick tutorial about how to read the chart and how to work these stitches, okay? Let's do it. Here's the chart that we were just looking at on the computer. It's formatted a little bit different, but that's okay. This is my Mosaic Squares chart. If you sign up for my email newsletter down below, I will send you a copy of this chart and the whole written pattern for it. And you can make yourself up a coaster or whatever you would like to make. Okay, so this is the coaster pattern I have. I already have it worked up. There'll be a video tutorial as well when you sign up for my newsletter and get the pattern. And I'll help walk you through the first part. But for right now, I'm just gonna show you what stitches to use. So I'm gonna work on the top of this and kind of show you how it works. As we talked about before, if you're right-handed, you would start on the right side of the chart, down here at the bottom, and work from right to left. If you're left-handed, you can work left to right for most geometric patterns. Start here and here, fasten off, start here and here, fasten off, start here, okay? We already talked about that, so you kind of know the gist. Okay, you'll see here for the coaster pattern, I've made all 14 rows here. So now in theory, we would be ready to start again with row 1. I think my repeat lines are off. Okay, ignore my repeat lines here because I'm definitely gonna have to change it. This row 14 here with those 2 lines, that means I have already worked up rows 1 and 2. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to start with row 3 right here. Okay, I'm just going to use some scrap yarn that I have lying around. Okay, so I make a slip knot just like if I was starting any other pattern. And I do my beginning border stitches. I like to go in between the V of the stitch right there and kind of capture so that the two legs of the back of the work are to the outside of my project, and that really helps when we do an envelope border later. So that's how we do a beginning border stitch. Okay, so now we're going to start in row 3. My color B is this white color, so that's what we did our beginning border stitch with. And now you see these 2 black boxes. That means we're doing a back loop only single crochet, and we get to do that 2 times. If you don't know what the loops are, we'll give a quick tutorial right here. On the top of your stitches, you have these V's that are made up of 2 loops, your front loop and your back loop. So the front loop's here, that one that's closest to you, right here. I don't know if that's focusing right, but you also have a back loop, which is the one that's furthest away from you. So go kind of stab through that back loop, grab your yarn, and you do a single crochet. These are English terms, if you haven't caught on by now. Okay, then we're gonna do that twice. Back loop only, single crochet. All right, 1, 2. Now here we get to our first X. The X's are a front loop only double crochet. You do that double crochet in the front loop 2 rows down below. You know, if I was doing my back loop only single crochet, I'd go into this back loop. The front loop double crochet isn't in that front loop, it's into this front loop. Okay, I'm working my color B, and I'm doing my front loop double crochets into the color B front loop down below. Okay, you're going to be working for the basic patterns, you work your front loop double crochet into the same color that you're using. Okay, so that is our first front loop only double crochet. Does that make sense? This next stitch is a single crochet in the back loop only, and you notice that this one's white and this one was black. This doesn't matter, the color doesn't matter, because we're only working one color at a time. Okay, so if it's black or if it's white, we keep on using the same color, we don't freak out, we just do a back loop only single crochet. The reason why it's different on the chart than it is when you're actually working it up is because right above that we have an X, so that stitch is going to be covered up. Okay, this white stitch isn't going to be white in our final thing, it's going to be this pink color. Hope that makes sense, and I'll show you here. Because our next stitch is another front loop only double crochet, and you notice right here on the next stitch we have pink. We don't want that pink there, we want to make a square, so we do a front loop only double crochet 2 rows below, and we cover that up. Okay, and so that's how we start making our box. Now we do 3 more back loop only single crochets. Okay, then we have our front loop only double crochet where we're going to cover up that pink with a double crochet again. Okay, then single. Sorry, I know this pattern, so I'm just working it up. After a while you can tell what the pattern is, and you don't really have to count much because you just kind of know. Like, I know I'm making these squares, so that's why I'm not really counting. I'm slowing down. So sorry for the instructional video, I should just slow down for you guys. Okay, and then we're going to end with 2 single crochets. The reason why we have this repeat line here is I would do 1 single crochet and then stop, and you would start back on this other side of the repeat line and do 1, 2. Does that make sense? So that we have 1, 2, 3 single crochet stitches to make up our squares. But to make the pattern even, so that we have 2 over here and 2 over here, I have those extra stitches to the side, right? So 1, 2, and then we end with our ending border stitch, which is very similar to our beginning border stitch. And I have more tutorials on this, like I mentioned, but really quick, I'm going to go through the center of that V on the side. You see, I'm going to go through the center of that and have both of those legs to the side. It doesn't really look how I want it to look because, okay, whatever. Now we're at the end of our row, and I'm going to grab my yarn, my scissors, fasten it off, and I just do a chain 1 at the end to secure. Some people do chain 2. So then I do not weave in my ends. If I wanted to do like a nice mug rug, I tie them like this. Or if I'm creating a blanket, I'll create a double border. Just this is my pattern in the middle, and then the border is all this section here. It's pretty thick, it's double wide, and it also has all of my ends hidden inside. If you wanted to, you could weave in all of your ends if you're doing like, I don't know, a wall hanging or something else. So that's the basics of how you read a chart and follow the pattern. Definitely sign up below so that you get access to this chart, the written instructions, and the video tutorial as well, in order to make yourself a coaster such as this. Just a quick little sample project for you. For those of you who are interested in creating your own charts and designing your own blanket, let's do a little brief intro into how I create my own charts. Okay, so here we are in Stitch Fiddle. This is the program that I use when I design my crochet charts. I do this for corner to corner. I do it for intarsia, for tapestry, for whatever I'm going to do. I use Stitch Fiddle mostly. I was first introduced to this program when I was first designing Mosaic Crochet, and I've just stuck with it, and I found you can do lots of other things with it. So I do highly recommend Stitch Fiddle. This is in no way an affiliate marketing thing. I don't think they do affiliate marketing for them, but I just use it a lot. So I have a sample that I'm going to be working up from. So we're going to click this here. This is just how I lay out all of my charts. How I get there, so I'm going to go back to this, is I'm going to create a new chart, and I go to crochet. Then instead of doing corner to corner or anything, I just do crochet with colors, no preference on yarn color, and I go from an empty chart. Then you can change the number of columns and rows, but then you get this blank chart. Okay, so I have bypassed that, and I have set up like a sample. Really, this is how I design all of my charts. So it's like a template for me. Okay, so what I do is make sure I have all of the stitches that I want here on the left hand side with my A, B, different colors, X's, beginning and ending border stitches. That's how I have my stitches, okay? Then how I set up the actual chart is on the right hand side. I start with B because A, my foundation row I do with color A, and that is the foundation single crochet, and I just don't include that on the chart. So then row 1 is B because I've already used color A. Okay, so color B there, then A, B, and then I make lines with the corresponding color just so I can see visually, like that's how it looks on the back. That's what color yarn I'm going to be using. This way I know I cannot use the color AX on a B. Okay, I can't do that because it's just physically impossible with overlay mosaic crochet. You can only place an X in the corresponding row. I don't know if that made any sense, but here is what we do. Say we just want a simple square. We're just going to do a big old square, okay? And that's what our pattern is going to be. And we want our square to be in color B, say. What I'm going to do is grab the blank white box for color B, and I am just going to start making a square. Okay, so how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that works out. Yay. Okay, so I've made a square. If I want it just to be a plain white square, then I'm going to take my white and just fill that all in. Okay,
Now I'm going to take the color BX, my front loop only, double crochet, and I'm going to place an X really on all of the color B spots where I'm going to crochet down below. So here I'm not going to place the X's because if I placed X's here, that means I'm going to cover up this A right here, but that's not where my square is. Okay, my square is just right here. So this, if I just have back loop only single crochet, that's going to be like the base row of my square, okay? Here I am not going to place an X in row 4 because that is a color A row, and I am doing color B X's. So I would go up to this row and do X's for B, okay? And the reason why I place X's here is because I want to cover up that row 4. I want to cover up row 4 and hide color A. I don't want color A to show through because I just want this plain white square. Okay, and I do that again with row 7 because we just want to cover up. I made a mistake here. You see I have an X in row 6. Cover it up. No, we don't want that. Okay, we're just doing, for row 6, we just do, for row 6, we just do a back loop only single crochet. Row 8, we just do a back loop only single crochet. Okay, that's how we do it. And that's how you make your little square. If you want your square to stand out, maybe for color A rows, we have those be black, right? We just want like a white square in a sea of black, and that would be fine. Okay, just like that. Now what I would do would be taking my color AX, and I would not put one here. I guess I could. We could cover up this first row if you really wanted to, but we'll, for the sake of this, we'll just leave that as a single crochet, and I'll put an X here because we want to cover up this B, okay? Because normally it would be like this, right? So we want to cover up that B by putting an X there. If there's an X above, that means down below is the same color, okay? Then, make sure I have my X here. I'm gonna do the same thing for here, same thing for here. I've done this really fast. So if you would like my whole course that I have on designing mosaic charts, inside the course, there's details on how to create the written instructions. The written instructions that come on Stitch Fiddle are not ideal because you have to go through and edit it quite a bit. So in the course, I go into detail on how to edit the written instructions that come with Stitch Fiddle to make it make sense for mosaic crochet. That was just a tiny little tutorial. I really hope that you were able to learn something.
I really hope that you enjoyed learning the basics of overlay mosaic crochet, both how to actually crochet it and then how to design it. Make sure that you sign up for the freebie. So the freebie is a cheat sheet for overlay mosaic crochet, and it comes with the chart as well as the video tutorial on how to work it up and the written instructions, complete pattern for that. If you purchase the bonus pack for the Blanket Summit, you will have access to my mini course where I go into more detail about the basics and how to actually crochet it up. There are videos, there are charts, there are written instructions, lots of information, all that you need to know in order to succeed in overlay mosaic crochet. I can't wait to see your mosaic crochet blankets, guys. Make sure that you tag me at Juniper and Oaks whenever you use anything that you learn from me. That would be great, guys. Happy crocheting!